Here's my little garden update. First, I want to point out the importance of ornamentation. Ornamentation is very important to a garden for the reason that you want to have and chairs. Chairs are important too. There's no seat in that chair, but there will be. I'm going to fix it. I might put some rope or something on there. I don't know what I'm going to do. But, and it's interesting though. People should recraft and refurbish as a rule. I mean, this is, when you got tweed, it's pretty much, you're in trouble. But, with other things, I mean, I've seen brass fixtures, brass tables that are just being junked, and it's just like, this is the people, the kind of people who do that, you know, it's generally, there's one type of people. But yeah, ornamentations are important because it's something you want to be welcoming the human concept. That's, to me, what a garden is. It's got to be welcoming the human concept. It's not just about fairies, elves, and gnomes. It's about welcoming the human concept. Not that fairies, elves, and gnomes don't, you know, make things, but implicitly, that's a human characteristic. And here I had some. These all got weathered because they were just sitting there. I haven't put them out, and it's good that it's like that, so I know how weathered they get so easily. I would have hung them up and went through all the trouble to get them really high and, you know, placed. But I'm gonna have to, you know, give them some sealant so they get a little bit more endurance out of them. These are dollar store houses. They're all $1 each, which is a real good deal, I would think. But they got a little weathered. But like, you know, this is a good one. It's a little, I don't know what it's made out of. It's pretty good material though. Like, you know, that's a good one. It'll clean it up a little bit, but you can tuck that away somewhere. And you know, you don't want people stealing stuff, but you know, there's like a threshold level where you'll go, oh, okay, I'm just gonna leave it. You know what I'm saying? If there's enough things, that's the ornamentation. You gotta have like beyond the threshold. If it's just like one item, you're in trouble. But so it's kind of difficult. But you know, hopefully they see there's like, oh, there's an abundance. I'm gonna leave it because, you know, it's just one that is gonna disappear, and still you still run that. I know who does this too, because it's like, you know, I'd have a garden with like, I'd leave like a little hand trowel just in the ground, you know, where you can see it, but it's obviously a garden tool in the garden, and that will disappear right away, and then you replace it, and it disappears right. And the thing, the people who are taking them, they don't need it. They just see free. They just see free, mine, take it. And they're a very jealous, spiteful, slanderous people. That's the type. That's the kind of, it's not like a civil-minded person does that. And there's a whole group of these civil-minded people who are always being slandered as being very bad people. But those are the people who are not doing that kind of petty, nonsensical, greedy, that's the greed. That's a greedy person. And they're the common people. The common greedy people, someone they see stuff, they don't need it. They just say, oh, free, take it. And I've been with people, and I've had things that I've put around, and they go, oh, there, and they take it without hesitation. It's just like they're drawn to it. It's not free. First of all, I put that there. Second of all, what are you doing with it? Third of all, you know, why are you doing that? It's just like crazy. You just gotta think, why did you do that? And it's an insult too when they go, hey, I grabbed that for you here, I'm gonna give it to you. Oh, no, there's your thing, I'm giving it to you. No, that's there for a purpose. And it's because that's the kind of people who are exploiters of the vulnerable. As if, yeah, and this is the projection game. They are projecting. So when you do a ritual with all the mayors and the doctors and the lawyers and the police chief, and they're doing this sinister thing, and they go, no, we're the higher evolved ones. We're woke. So we're not doing any crime here. It's no longer a crime to lie, cheat, steal, and murder. It's only a crime to believe in reality and humanity. See, the belief in humanity and reality, that's the crime of the big mafia network, which is the big club, which is most people are in this club. And it's very sad because you got to think about like the number of people who do that, and I've seen it, there's so many people doing it, and it's like I'll see my item in their possessions, and I go, what do you need that for? What is you? I know where you got that. Why would you be taking that? That's serving a purpose. It's not serving a purpose now, and it's because they're very spiteful people. They have to spite the vulnerable. It's vulnerable. They got, as if they're holding the world together. They're creating gravity. And that malfeasance, that is their piety, because they're anti-human. That's the rule. That's my point, is ornamentation is very important in the garden. But yeah, I want to show like so this garden here was supposed to be just a wildflower, naturalized these wildflowers, and I think it came out pretty good, because it's like the point is it's got to be xeric. I want to water anything, and we've got dry heat, and it's gonna do fine. It's gonna do fine, and we're gonna have persistence with these guys, because these are persistent guys. Like I like the Celine, and now it's hard to find these Celine seeds. You'll find them in mixes, but not always. And usually they only they put a tiny. The seeds are tiny. They put a little bit in whatever little seed mix you can find. But that's generally you'll find a few that pop up, and the only ones that I have here are because I've selected whatever seed mixes had them, and I just tried to get them in, and we got a success. They do well establishing themselves, and they establish themselves in drifts, which is nice. There's a type of like campion, and they're really nice. So the Celines are really nice, and I like this gypsoglossum too. I actually got a whole bunch. They're right now. The heat is they're closed out in the heat, but you'll see them, they're everywhere. They're going to open up, and there's these little white guys here, and there's quite a lot of them in here, but they kind of close, and they keep going. They'll be here for 4, and they're also difficult, but they are persistent. When you get them in abundance, they're persistent. They kind of like poke around here and there. It's kind of like it's something that they have to find their own way to establish, and then you can establish them. They're just such a great plant. You don't see them established too often, and a lot of that is, again, for that type of person, is very spiteful. They don't want anything for anybody else, so they want to make sure that, like, there's quite a lot to say on that topic, but I do have to pull out some of this, like we got the touch me nots, and there's a few other things. You can see on the right side, there's a lot of overgrowth of just what was here. This is going to be a planted. I'm going to do this little space here. I'm going to pile up a whole bunch of. I'm going to do everything is hard packed soil that I did intentionally for hard pack, because I wanted xeric protected. But I want to do soft pack now. In all the spots I haven't done, I'm going to do all soft pack. So I'm going to fluff up in big mounds. I'm going to fertilize it too. Nothing else is fertilized. Because I want it to be a natural growth, building the soil just from the stripped depletion of it. And see, there's a problem that I did, is I didn't have that like you get the legumes, you got to inoculate them, or you got to put the little fungus on them. It's not present, and the fungus I don't think is present, because I didn't see any of the legumes. There's plenty of legumes in here, but they just don't have that vigorous, particularly the beans. They don't have that. They're very yellowed, and they don't have that vigor that you see, I think, with that inoculation. So the inoculation is not here, and I think just to get it, if I get some organic fertilizers, it comes with it. They got lots of different mycorrhizal stuff in the organic fertilizers, and there's a whole listing of what they have, and probably I get a few different ones, it'll get in there and it'll spread. That's fine. Again, I want to try to get a xeric adaptation, so the stuff is persistent, and it kind of stratifies its own niched stuff. Like we got candy tufts in here, which is, see, this one's different. Here I got my little boo-boo, the little bunny. She come in here. This is her garden. She come in everywhere. Actually, I got Gregory, Arthur, and there's like 3 rabbits, but it's mostly just the one. That's her place. Just her trompings on, and I saw her. She was in here. She had her feet kicked up. She's laying down on her back. I thought she got hurt or something, because she's just hanging out. She had her feet. You never seen a rabbit do this. And she's just laying out, hanging out, chilling in her little spot, because there's a little trail back in that little spot. Just really coming out. Gregory comes in, Arthur comes in, and Gwendy comes in through there. But this is very trimmed, very trimmed. She's really, it's funny because she hears, she's probably right here, she can hear me. She's somewhere in these, chilling out. They're very, very aware of what goes on. But like, I was upset that oh, they got all my sunflowers, but she didn't get them all. She just cropped them all. So there is one node of growth that will sprout up from, and generally everything else is left to one node. So it's a very important, like a beneficial thing that's happening, but it's also very xeric. We don't have that overcrowding, which I want, like it is over here. We're getting that moisture protection. we're not getting that moisture protection over here, which is fine. I'm just gonna water. I've been watering this spot a little bit, and that's Gwendy too. Gwendy had a whole bunch of water bottles, different spots with water bottles. They're kind of stood up in the side, and they were all knocked over. That was her telling me, hey, you gotta water this. You know, hey, I can't do it, you gotta do it. So I think that was the funny thing. But so here I got about like 200 hostas out of one or two clumps that someone's throwing them out, which is good. I'm gonna finish them up. They were sitting and drying out, and they kind of get into that strengthened state. So they're sitting there, just, you know, roughly drying out, but they're easier to divide that way. You're gonna get, I think they get into that whatever, what do you call it, protective mode. So in hibernation or whatever. So it's almost like there's a benefit to stress them in that way, and other things stressing too. Like here it is. I bought the one plant for like $10. This geranium, and I split it up, and there's about 5 in each one of these, and it looks, you know, that's gonna be like, when I replant that, you can break it up to the 5 plants, since I didn't have any pots. But then I got a whole slew of others, so I got, you know, just as a one pot. And yeah, I said, like, that's something that, like, should be understood, or here, like, you know, this is some just wildflower stuff that you see is very xeric, so I want to get this stuff going. You got the bladder campions, we got this type of clover, that pineapple something, what do you call that? I forget, I don't know. It's like little chamomile, the pineapple chamomile guy. We got some of this grass, little pink flowers. Anyway, you just see these kind of difficult ones, like these are hard-packed xeric. Very difficult to transplant them and have them survive. But the trick with anything, when you transplant, replant, you put them in the shade. And this is something it's so important. Like here were some spireas I saw at the supermarket. They're gonna get like mulched over, so I grabbed them. They're little baby spireas, which is cool. It's a variety that, again, they don't want things that germ. So they don't want things that have seeds that grow, like apples don't grow. And not because it's like it's a better variety, it's because they really just don't want other people to have anything. They want to be the only one with their concession. And that's something is not openly spoken, but it's very true. And if you speak that, people get very dangerously offended. They're dangerous people. They're going to do all kinds of nefarious things. This is that one kind of people. It's not all people, but it's one kind. Here we got comphray. I broke up just in every cell. There's a little comphray root, so it should be about like 60 comphray off one plant, and we got a lot of growth, you know, sprouting out here. But not every cell's got a leaf, but I think they will. I think given time, they just have like a little inch of root, and that little nugget of root will sprout. I'm going to put them out in the sun later. Ooh, it's water. See, I forget. This is so well drained that you gotta water it all the time. That's just some vervain, which I didn't really get any vervain in here. Here, this is now I watered these bulbs were drying and dying, you know, so I had them, you know, just sit in the bag, and I watered them. I knew that you're gonna get a little rot from that. It's okay, because with each one of these bulbs, you can divide that one bulb into like all those bulblets, and the little rot gives it that shock treatment, or, you know, hibernation. It goes into like survival mode. That little rot sends it in a place where I don't know if it didn't get in that rot. I try to divide it. Otherwise, it's not going to have the same defensive mechanisms. That I don't think I can divide it as much easily if it doesn't get that little rot stage. That rot stage kind of helps it divide, I think. And I could be wrong about that. You can do some trial tests to see, but I think that it's going to loosen up and it's going to node out where it's easily to node, and that's why I'm going to get a lot more lilies out of it that way. Because I don't need them to bloom every year. And there's another thing with lilies, like they naturalize and, oh, lilies are no good, you gotta keep doing it and kill them and do that. No, they don't all have to bloom. Like, you know, when you have forced bulbs, they bloom, each one blooms their best bloom ever. Nah, but if you have like a whole bunch, they don't all bloom, but some of them do. And they naturalize that way perfectly fine. They seed off, they node out, and there's a lot of like gardening that's really just anti-gardening. It's really just about commercial, you know, concessions. And that's okay, that vervain will be fine. And here I replanted, I uprooted my speedwell. It was one plant, and I got here, it's about 4 clumps. And that's all I got out of it. It was kind of hard to divide. and that's enough. It's good I divided it, because it would have been one clump that's kind of just, you can't really divide it. But with the better, greenhouse, you can divide it more. But that's about as far as I can divide it. We got that profuse vervain here, and that's a hard one to, when you pull it, transplant it, it's very xeric. So it's usually hard packed, super hard packed, but it's xeric, and then transplanting is kind of difficult. But I think with all this, there will be enough, and it'll start to regrow feebly, but then it'll survive over the year. I've seen it. I've done it like this, and it's like kind of feebly, barely, and then it comes back the next year. But I haven't had it come back super strongly, but that's because I've had it in very poor deplete soils. But here we got this. Here there was a one plant. I got that many of the one, and I planted them all in these crazy mix pots here, which again, they're just shading it out. Here, that's a hybrid clover. It's like a pink from the white clover, and those pink ones, that's the hybrid. And I like the hybrid look to it. It's kind of cool. And then I got some other crimson clover, so hopefully the crimson clover and the hybrid could hybridize that way, and maybe we get some kind of strange variants. Here's a sedum. I got a good amount of sedums off that one plant, and see, because I'm trying to get this ground cover in here. I bought another one. It was a little bit healthier, and this is in too much sun. There was actually sun hitting this, which I didn't realize it was getting there. The sun's hitting it. So, but these are so tough that they'll come out. So I got 3 flats. It's 45. Oh, I got 4 flats. Yeah, that's 60 off of the one plant, which is cool. And then I'm gonna get another one if I can find one, and get some more, because that's something I'm gonna use a ground cover to try. And what I'm gonna do, my plan here is to get all this walkway. I'm gonna chop it up and try to get plants, shade plants and whatever, everything, the whole walkway with all these super tough perennials. But I have to get rid of these. So here, this did pretty good. So on the right side, I got I left most of the topsoil here, and it took me a little bit of time to weed it and to keep the soil. Here I did it quicker, and I just took all the topsoil off. And you see it's not as good. Over here is a lot better. And I did take actually a good amount of topsoil out of here too. The topsoil is a little bit richer than what's underneath. Like the first 6 inches is more rich than what's underneath. But the point was, I don't really care, because I want a xeric naturalizing, and I want an adaptive, aggregation. I want adaptive aggregation. So whatever comes here, I want it to seed, and then something's going to thrive. A few things are going to thrive, and then they're going to drift out, and they're going to thrive more. They'll establish themselves, and then that's really the point. And it's to be super hardy. I want whatever's hardy, that can survive the heat and the depleted soil. That's what I want to thrive. So it's kind of like in that sense. And we got a lot of potatoes over here. You see in the back, I got some finger potatoes. Can't really see them, but over here we have them. These are a nice variety, and about 30 of them. And I'm just using them as like seed potatoes, so I can get like at 30, I'll probably get about 300. And those 300 is going to be seed potatoes, and now that's about 3,000. So then they have 3,000 seeds to plant, which is good. I don't think then at that point, you're going to be pretty. I want them to winter over and adapt so that they do winter over, which is not sure how well they're going to do, but I'm pretty sure that they'll do somewhat. Here with the onions as well, same concept. I got about 30. I want about 200, and they're just for seed. I want them to get the blooms, to drop the seeds, and to adapt to the conditions and grow. I know this mustard's very hardy. This red mustard is very much gonna do its thing, and it's gonna become. I like the color. I like the look of it, and it's a good something to naturalize. And there's a lot of other things in here. Like this is a good. I think that the ground cover. I like this is lentil and flax. And it's interesting that the flax. I just had 2 little small seed packets of flax, little tiny little plastic, 60-cent seeds, and there's only 2 of them. It was like like at the supermarket. You got the 2, and they don't have them anywhere, so it's just hard for me to find. I would have used it earlier in the other ground covers, but I didn't have any anywhere. I couldn't find any flax seeds. So here I found some, and it did very well. And again, this is getting trimmed. Wendy does a lot of trimming in here, so she really goes through and trims. But it's okay. This is now getting almost to the screen protection where it's going to have heat protection. But look how clopped these guys are. And you see that they're getting, if you look closely, everything is really, really, I'm surprised that they eat so much. She eats, and she's very happy. She just walks right up to me, so she's, we're like, on good terms that way. But it is a little, it's getting more complex when it gets cropped. Even all this corn, there's a lot of corn in here. That all got cropped. It didn't get cropped. It got cropped a little bit, just so almost down to nothing, down to the first node. And now it's where it was like 3 weeks ago. But it's okay. I think it's getting extra root strength that way. But there's, how much, I think there's enough time in the season for it to get to fruit and seed, and then drop its seed. And then hopefully then it kind of aggregates and gets settled, and it comes in stronger. You'll see it come in naturally earlier in the spring and grow more robustly. And I want it in clumps and drifts. I don't want it, I did kind of plant it in clumps and drifts. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. So that's this is gonna get, I chop and drop this, and I didn't want to give it too much of a dryness to this open air, so it's good that it came up. And now that that's grown in, I'm gonna plant this. I'm gonna seed this out, and this is I'm gonna do this side first, this little corner, and that's it. That's gonna be my garden. I'm gonna invite some people so they can see it, but I haven't really invited anybody. But I want to get it finished to the exit over here, at least so it looks kind of complete. So we do have like some squash and some cucumbers and some pumpkins. I want them growing and trailing, and those are getting hit by a lot of different guys, but they're not getting cropped. Those are being they're getting cropped by like slugs and the birds in their smallness. But so here we got some borage too, which is great. We got borage, and there's lots of little foxglove here and there. And it's going to be good with a foxglove, comfrey, and borage. They all look the same. And I'll get some mullein, woolly mullein in there too. And it's going to nice spring, blooms. To ground cover. They're really good. They all come up early and do well. But I got a whole bunch of flats of seedlings. So I did everything. I pretty much planted everything right into the ground. But here now I have a whole bunch of seedlings, which is